CEOs of public companies. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn my proven system, the proven framework for increasing your stock price 10x or more. That's 1,000% or more by building a cult following. Now, over the last 25 years, I've helped countless CEOs just like you build a cult following and increase their stock price by triple digits, quadruple digits, or even more. What is this all about? Now, you're probably watching this video because you've heard about Wall Street Reporter Services. Maybe you're interested in you've heard about it as referred to as an IR program, marketing service. You want to increase your stock price, right? We're not going to be talking about IR. This is not a pitch about investor relations. That's not what Wall Street Reporter does. What we do at the core of it is we help CEOs, again, like you, develop their personal brand and really build a cult following. Now, I'm using the word personal brand because that's the politically correct way of saying a cult following. But that's what we really do. We help you build a cult following. I'm going to show you exactly how we do it and how that results in stocks that increase 10x or more. So before we even get started, you really need to ask yourself a question. What is this worth to you? Before you invest the next minutes learning about the program, really, what is it worth to you? If you could double your stock price, just even double your stock price, right? If you could increase your valuation by $100 million or more, most likely you're probably a $50, $100 million valuation company. Most of our clients are microcap clients are in that range, although we do work with companies up to $5 billion in value. Even if you increase your stock price by 50 million, 100 million valuation, with absolute certainty, what if you could raise $10, $20 million, $50 million literally overnight, like many of our clients have done as a result of having a liquid stock price? What if you could use your stock as a currency to make acquisitions? And we've had clients that went from $0 to $100 million run rate purely as a result of building their cult following, which resulted in a stock that went from 37 cents to $4. And that transformed the company. What if you could attract key talent, especially if you're a tech company? It's very competitive to attract key talent, to attract those key executives that can take your company to that next level. Your stock price is critical because the stock price, everybody's attracted. Everybody wants to be part of a winning team. When your stock goes from $1 to $5, all of a sudden, you're able to attract that talent because they all want to be part of a winning team. They want to get those stock options. Everybody wants that big win. And really, what is it all about? It's about being all you can be, crushing your competition, achieving greatness. Now, before we even go any further, I'm going to show you a slide here. I'm going to show you something that you've never seen before, the $50 million t-shirt. Now, what you're going to see here is something absolutely crazy. I guarantee you've never seen this before. It's what I call the $50 million t-shirt. This is tangible proof of investor engagement. You hear that word, investor engagement. We want to engage with investors. We want to get market interest, market support. I don't think there's better proof, tangible proof of market support than when investors put your face on a t-shirt. Now, this was sent to me. This is from a Discord chat. It's a screenshot. This is a stock that went, it had about a 500% increase when they started with our program. I'm going to give you a close-up shot over here. Let me move this away. The stock was at 6 cents. It went to about 30 cents a short period of time. Now, about $50 million in value was created. Peter Hawley is the CEO. Now, actually, this t-shirt was sent to me by one of these investors. Now, they were so engaged by the company. They were so enthralled with the story that they created a little following, a little club where they all wore these t-shirts. Now, think about the inertia that you have to get over because you got to design this thing. You got to spend $10, $12. You got to print it. And this was sent to me from Canada. So you got to, I think, fill out even a customs form or something. So it's a lot of work for somebody to do this. Now, they're not going to do this for any company unless they're passionate about that company. They're believers, true believers. That is a cult following, my friends. That is tangible proof. Let's move ahead. I'm going to give you some case studies right now of stocks that had massive success as a result of building that cult following. So here is Johnson Joseph of Peak Fintech. Now, this guy raised 50 million. No, I think by now it's 75. But during the time he was on Wall Street Reporter, he raised over $50 million, and his stock price increased from 70 cents to $14, and he ended up going onto NASDAQ. So that was a 20x increase by building a cult following. And I'm going to give you some testimonials that he gave us and the case study of exactly what happened, how that transformed his company. So here, a little bit of a snapshot, a bit of our track record over the years. I just picked out random companies. And again, these are companies that followed. Again, the closer you follow the system, the framework that we have, the more likely you will have that 10x. Now, if you dabble, you might only double your stock price. Okay, maybe you half-ass it, you'll triple your stock over 6 months or a year. If you follow the framework, you will have a 10x. Okay. By the way, this is some of the capital that was raised by our clients in the last number of months. Substantial money at high valuations. And again, when your stock is on the move, the world is your oyster. You can raise as much capital as you want. Capital is not a problem when you have a cult following. Now, again, this is all the stuff I teach CEOs in our 100X CEO Academy, building the cult following, all these other things. So again, the cult following results in a 10X super stock. Again, it's not about investor relations, incremental results, which are inconsistent, 35%. This is not what this is about. If you want to increase your stock price 35%, 50%, to double. Now you're definitely going to learn things here, but Wall Street Reporter is not for you. I'm looking for clients that potentially can have exponential gains. Really, I'm looking for stocks that could be 10 baggers or more. Or if you're a middle market company, maybe you'll be 500% increase. And we have different programs, again, for different needs. But again, it all comes down to building the personal brand and the cult following. So it's about those exponential gains. And again, when you have a cult following, you're going to have sustainable results, because what happens is there are other programs out there, IR programs that are digital marketing, et cetera, which are short term. They last a few months and the results vanish because you never had a cult following. It was just somebody pumping your stock on using digital marketing or whatever. What Wall Street Report does is, again, build a brand for you that people believe you. Okay. Look, you're not a leader unless you have followers. And what Wall Street Reporter does is we build your following. So let's get to work on building your following. Here's some proof of some of our success stories. CytoDyn, 2,000% increase. I think they raised, I don't know, was $1 billion, hundreds of millions of dollars, biotech company. Visibility Group, 10 bagger. Peak FinTech, again, you saw that 2,000% increase. Again, these are all things that happened within a year. CBDT, it's a stock that went from a nickel to 250. Now, that got a little bit ahead of itself. It should have probably only gone to $1. It was a hot market and things get extrapolated. You got to take advantage of it. And by the way, this CEO was offered $50 million, no questions asked, when the stock was $1, and he turned it down. I don't know why, but he could have really taken this thing all the way, but he didn't. Now, again, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business, okay? I'm not involved in your business strategy, operations, none of that stuff. I don't have expertise in that. What I do have expertise in is creating 10 baggers. Now, you may have had a 500% increase in a stock before. Maybe you were a CEO of a company that went up 10x. You may have done it once, maybe twice. I've done it countless times, 20 times or more. We've had stocks that went up 10, 20x, probably 50 times. I'm showing you 10 stocks right now, but this has been many. Again, they call me the $1 trillion man because I've helped create over $1 trillion in wealth. We've worked with thousands of companies. Not all of them have done the big full program. Some of them maybe just did, some CEO interviews over the years. Like, by the way, this is our magazine. Who's in our magazine? Companies like Rio Tinto, Agnico Eagle. This is a long time. This is an issue from 2005. So we're doing this a long time. We're at this business a long time, just in case you think that this is when we were doing print magazines. Schulte, Roth, and Zabel, one of our big law firm sponsors. The point is this: you're learning a system that works. I've been there. I've done it for 25 years. I've created $1 trillion in wealth, and I can do it for you. Help me help you. Follow the system. You're going to get those same results. So Fans United, 10 bagger, Imagine AR, 1,700%. ESC Entertainment, again, it's a stock that went up from 37 cents to over $4.50. He went from 0 to $100 million run rate through a roll-up strategy. How was he able to do that? Conrado Vasella was the CEO. Because the stock was moving, he was able to use that stock as currency. The stock is the tail that wags the dog. It'll transform your company. It's very important. Look, literally, I wrote the book on 10 baggers. 10 Bagger Blueprint, #1 bestseller on Amazon. This is written for investors. It's a proven system for them, framework for finding stocks that become 10 baggers. I teach them how to identify CEOs that have that 10x to 100x potential. And by the way, the core of the book is, if you want to find a stock that becomes a 10 bagger or 100 bagger, don't look for the 10 bagger business. Look for the 10 bagger or 100 bagger CEO. More about that in just a little bit. Look, success leaves clues. Every one of those 10x stocks that you saw is a result of a CEO who built a personal brand and a cult following with Wall Street Reporter. And you're going to have, again, those same results when you have a cult following around you and around your stock. Now, the reason where your stock is where it is today, and it'll stay where it is today, is because you don't have a cult following. Maybe you have a little bit of a following. Maybe you had a little, flurry of activity in your stock. But if you really want to go to the top, you got to have that cult following. Every one of those winning stocks was a result of that cult following. And when they stopped, building that cult, a lot of times those stocks, collapse. And you don't want that to happen to you. And I'll show you how to avoid that fate. So look, investors can't join your cult if they don't know you exist. They can't join your cult following if they don't know you exist. So let's talk about first principles here. Real investors, and that's what you want, right? You want real investors in your stock. You don't want day traders. You don't want stock flippers. You want people who are buying into your story. They're buying into you, right? Real investors buy the CEO first, the business model second. That's the reality. People buy people, not products. You've heard of that expression. People buy people. Proof of this, venture capitalists, VCs, their focus, it's just like in real estate location. So for VCs, it's all about management, founder, CEO, founder. Look, if they have the right founder, the right CEO, they're going to write a $10 million check or more based on an idea on a napkin. We've heard of this happen many times. Even Google actually started that way because they were introduced to, I think it was an angel investor, and this guy said, these guys are absolutely brilliant. I don't even know, they don't even have a business plan, but these guys, they have a vision, and the guy wrote them a check. I think it was for $100,000 or $1 million, but it was right away. And by the way, this is like a long time ago. This is 20 years ago. That was real money as an angel investment. And again, further proof, whenever you attend an investor conference, what do the big fund managers want? They want one-on-one meetings. They don't want to see you in a presentation. They want to get to know you one-on-one. So it's all about getting to know the CEO. And what we do, what Wall Street Report does, is we help you accomplish this. We help you achieve this at scale. So it's not one-on-one meetings. It's about you sitting in front of your computer, just like I am right now, and connecting, engaging with thousands of investors over and over again. Okay? And that is how your cult builds. So staying with first principles, real investors are focused on CEO quality and engaging directly with management. They want to learn about your company story from you directly in your own words. That's why from day one, our focus for the last 25 years has been on helping you tell your story to investors in your own words, whether it was back in the day with streaming audio on our website in 1997, whether it was through our print magazines, whether it was through conferences like we were doing. It was all about connecting CEOs with the audience. We never ever wrote investment recommendations, stories about stocks, buy this stock, it's going to the moon. None of that stuff. We've never done that. It's always been about helping you build your following, okay? It's about building your personal brand, the investment in the investor community that develops into a cult following, a mass movement, okay? And the results are stocks that go viral and produce those 10x, 1,000% increases. So it's not about CEO interviews. It's not about conference presentations, okay? I just want to be very clear about that. It's not about these generic commodity things that other people do. It's not what people do. It's how you do it. The reason Wall Street Reporter is able to produce exponential results over and over again is because I'll share the secret with you. I'll give you a hint. It's about the brand, the Wall Street Reporter brand, and the audience, the track record. And I'll show you more about that in just a second. So again, it's not about a one-time CEO interview or a presentation. It's about creating a mass movement around you, around your stock, a cult following. So what's our secret formula? You're probably wondering by now. And here's what it is, okay? I'm happy to share this with you. We've never really revealed it up until now, but here it is. So we take your story, we take the CEO, we connect, we amplify the CEO with Wall Street Reporter audience. You get that quality, the quality of the Wall Street Reporter audience. which is, again, high net worth investors, family offices, some institutions, fund managers. So you get that quality that nobody else really has. And also that scale that we're able to give you with some of our programs. We're able to constantly increase your audience, the quality audience. So again, there's like a mathematical formula, as you can see. So it's you multiplied by the Wall Street Reporter audience plus the Wall Street Reporter brand, trust, and credibility. That's really what makes it work, because this brand, Wall Street Reporter, has been around since 1843. Okay. It's nearly a 200-year-old brand. We've been online 25 years. People trust this brand. They know it as a brand that, brings them stocks that become multi-baggers, stocks that go up 500% or more. So we take you, multiply that, the scale with the audience, add the brand on top of that. That really supercharges things. And then further, we multiply it with consistent follow-up. So when you show up on our program, you do those CEO interviews, live streams, presentations twice a month, followed up with news flow 2 to 3 times a month at a minimum. And then that's further multiplied, as you can see, with our social media force multiplier effect, right? That's where you get those massive results. And I'm going to share more about that in just a minute, but this is very important. This over here is this is the formula that's resulted in 10x wins for all those clients that you saw. The closer they follow this formula, the bigger and better were their results. And if you, again, success leaves clues. If you follow that formula, you'll get those results. So here's a case study. So again, Peak FinTech, 20x increase, 50 million raised. And here is what Johnson Joseph, the CEO, has to say. He says, nothing we did, this is from an interview that he did. I'm just taking a quote from an interview he did. He says, nothing we did was as effective as the 3-month program we signed in August 2020 to appear on Wall Street Reporter's next Superstock program. Okay, so that, again, proof of results, ROI. Then he says, reaching new audiences, right? That's what you want to do. You want to reach new audiences. You want to reach new investors. The reason why you're not getting results right now with a lot of your IR programs is because generally IR firms or other promoters, they're limited. They have a limited audience. After 30 days, 60 days, they run out of new eyeballs. That's not the case. That's not the case with Wall Street Reporter, as Johnson tells you. So the viewers, for the most part, investors had never heard of the company before, including, to our surprise, Canadian investors. And this guy was well known in Canada. It's a Canadian company, but we brought him a whole new audience because, again, it's that scale. And what happens is the stock goes viral. He goes on to say that our message seemed to resonate with them, and that began to spread across various social media platforms. We went from having 2,000 shareholders at the end of 2019 to over 17,000 shareholders. That's what happens. When you follow this program, and again, he started off slowly. When he did our first live stream, he only had 100 people in the audience. The next one, he had 150. Then it was 200, then 500. And over, and then the videos got 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views organically. And that's how the snowball develops. So again, his shareholder base increased by 800%, and the stock went up 20x, 2,000%, 20 times. Now, this is the most important part. Increasing stock price drives business growth. So, and this is what he goes on to say, our company successfully transitioned from being a penny stock to a NASDAQ company. We went from having 5 employees to over 70, and we went to become a global data AI services leader. He was able to hire talent. Again, what did I tell you? I didn't put these words in his mouth. This is his interview that he did online. Your stock price, when your stock price increases, it'll transform your business. It's as I always say, the stock is the tail that wags the dog. Okay. When you're running a public company, the whole purpose of running a public company is to create shareholder value, right? In a private company, it's about revenues, profits, whatever. In a public company, investors don't care if you have profits. They don't care if you have revenues. All they care about is that your stock goes up. That's really what it is at the end of the day. Think about it. Okay. Think about it. So you got to think from first principles. Think from your stock price first, and that'll trickle down into your business. I know it sounds controversial. Okay. But I'm only doing this 25 years. I've only created $1 trillion in wealth. Maybe I have, what I'm telling you has some validity. Maybe it does, but it's up to you. So here's how to build your cult following. Now, here's how to build your cult following. Here is my 4-step formula. This is based on, my proven system that I share with CEOs. in our 100x CEO Academy, the 100x CEO, that's our mastermind group where CEOs learn the proven system for, again, building stocks that have 10x to 100x upside potential. What you're seeing in this video is just a tiny fraction of some of the things we teach you. But again, you got to have a compelling vision for the future that you share with investors. It's got to be a story that shows them a path to that 10x potential or more. Now, in our 100x CEO Academy, we show you how to create that story and how to have a bulletproof story. Why does it have to be a bulletproof story? Because when your stock starts moving, you become a target for short sellers. Now, when your story is bulletproof, they can't attack you. And that's what I teach CEOs in the 100x CEO Academy. So that's step one. You got to have a compelling vision for the future. As it says in the Bible, without a vision, the people perish, right? Timeless truths. Things have not changed in thousands of years, and they won't change thousands of years from now. People are people. They've always been, people like to buy from people. They're not buying products, they're buying you. So you got to have that compelling vision for the future. You got to take them along on the path with you. You got to be the Messiah that takes them to the promised land, okay? Number two is you got to align with a trusted brand, trusted Wall Street Reporter brand that has that massive audience for you, that you're able to leverage a massive audience and a trusted brand. Because you by yourself, you're not going to be able to build a cult following just by you doing videos by yourself on your own website, whatever it is, on YouTube. It's not going to work. And I talk about that in some of our other videos. And I'll give you the reasons why it doesn't work. It's because, as they say, as a lawyer, as they tell you in law school, anybody who represents himself in court has an idiot for a fool and a moron for a lawyer. I think that's how the story goes. Why did O.J. Simpson, how was he able to get acquitted? He killed 2 people because he had the dream team. He had the 10 of the best lawyers out there. Remember, the glove don't fit, you must acquit, right? He didn't represent himself in court. And Wall Street Reporter is essentially that dream team. It's not 10 people. It's one organization with a power of 10, right? Step 3, you got to have regular news flow investor engagement. You can't show up on a program one time and then disappear and expect results. It's not going to happen. That's a formula for disaster. I showed you what the success formula is. You got to show up on a program twice a month. You got to have, regular appearances, consistency. You got to build that relationship, and you got to have a track record of making and keeping promises. That is really what it comes down to. That's how stocks go up. It's about the CEO showing up on a program, sharing a vision for the future, talking about upcoming milestones, and then achieving those milestones, and talking about achieving those milestones with the news releases, and doing that over and over again, right? So you make a promise, and you keep a promise. Now, when you do that several times on our platform to the same audience and growing audiences, they start talking about you. And now the market starts to extrapolate. Okay, so now it's not just geometric. Now it becomes exponential. That is how your multiple increases. That's how your multiple for your stock increases. Because right now you have a small, maybe you might be a middle market company with a small multiple, because people don't really know you've been inconsistent. But when you share a big vision and you make and keep those promises to an audience that develops trust in you, now they can extrapolate. Now you go from a 10x multiple, 10x earnings, or whatever your multiple is in your industry. You can go from a 10x to a 30x. Now you can become an industry leader. Your comps can be industry leading comps. Right now, you're probably lagging, right? That's why your stock is undervalued. When you follow the system of building your cult, your stock will become a super stock. It's just the way it works. So here's the Wall Street Reporter advantage for you. It's a 180-year-old brand. We've been around almost 200 years, started in 1843. What does that mean? People trust established brands. Investors associate Wall Street Reporter with high-performance stocks. Nobody out there has had as many multi-baggers, 10 baggers for sure. Nobody else out there has had as many 10-bagger stocks that went up 1,000% or more. And I can guarantee you nobody has written a book, a framework, a system for finding those 10-bagger stocks and developing 10-bagger stocks. Again, we're online over 25 years, so it's an unparalleled track record. What does that mean? What it means is that investors have been trained that this is the brand. Wall Street Reporter is the place where they can find that next 10x stock. And expectations become reality. That's just the way it works, right? Again, we have the domain expertise. We literally, you know, wrote the book on 10x stocks. Okay. I guarantee you other companies out there that you might be talking to, are they showing you presentations like this? Have they written books on bestseller books on Amazon that show investors how to find 10x stocks based on a track record of doing it? Okay, real quick, I'm going to show you exactly what we do, what you're going to be getting with the Wall Street Reporter program, because by now you're probably wondering what is it that these guys are doing. And I'm gonna go through it real quick because it's not about what we do, it's about how we do it. It's about the brand, really, obviously the quality of the audience, but it all starts with, this is the basics of it. It's the CEO interview because it allows you to share that story. It's the presentations that you do, your PowerPoints, whatever, to the audience. Again, it's all about connecting you with the audience, amplifying your message. And that happens with our news distribution, email distribution. We have almost 100,000 investors in our email group that you're going to be reaching. That's your audience. And the social media amplification. And more about that in just a second. The idea is we want to create a lot of shareable content, okay? It's all about creating shareable content, videos, posts, etc., that investors can spread. And these are a couple of screenshots from different places online so that it allows you to build an organic following so you can go viral. And it's all about you taking advantage, leveraging this force multiplier of social media. Because what happens is when you go on Wall Street Reporter, now investors trust you. When they see your content, it's associated with a 200-year-old brand with a track record, right? So now investors trust that content. But then what we want to do is we want that content to go viral. And what happens is when you have that compelling content over and over again, investors and our audience will share it on places like Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, social media, all these different forums, investor forums. And what happens is this: we have an evangelist, okay, in our audience, right? We have people in our audience, retail investors who may have 100 followers, 500 followers, a couple thousand followers that have a track record. People like them, right? And they come to our website looking for new ideas. So what's going to happen is now they find you on our website, they find your interview, they find your presentation, then they share it with their followers. So now you have that force multiplier effect. Now you have these evangelists out there who are spreading the gospel about your story. And now you have this cult that develops around you. And especially you got to, again, you do it over and over again. You got to give them the ammunition. This is a war, okay, my friends, this is a war. You are at war for investors' attention, okay? You're fighting against 10,000 other public companies. They're all competing for investors' attention and dollars. So you got to have that ammunition in your content, those interviews, news stories. That's the ammunition that we need to feed to the influencers and evangelists. So right here, I always say this, and again, I talk about this in our 100x CEO Academy. Investor chatter conversations on forums, social media. That is the number one way that stocks gain traction and they build that investor following, as we call it. And you need to have quality, credible, high quality content like Wall Street Reporter's content to share, to feed the machine. You got to feed that machine because you have all these forums, social media, Twitter. There's take this stuff every day. There's new ways that you're able to reach these investors. And so we want to feed your stuff out there. And at some point, it just goes viral. That's how it's worked for every one of our winners. So again, the reason why it works is the brand. And I'm going to tell you more about, again, in case you don't get it, I'm going to explain to you why the brand is so important. So you got to leverage brand power. The power of brand, okay? You see any of the brands on the screen, you probably recognize some of these brands, okay? Why is it? Ask yourself this question. Are these companies, do they make a better product than anybody else? I don't know. Is Rolex the best watch? No. Is Mercedes the best car manufacturer? No. The point is, anything you put these brands on increases the value of the product that they're attached to, okay? Let me repeat that again. When you take an elevated brand and you attach it to a product, it elevates the value. And also, you have something called a heritage brand. Okay, heritage brand is a brand that's been around for decades or even hundreds of years. And what happens is that those brands are embedded in the subconsciousness. Somehow it's very powerful. That's why you have some of these big companies like, what's the Francois, the guy was at Keurig or whatever the company is. They buy these brands that sometimes these brands might be extinct for 100 years and they revive them. Okay. And all of a sudden, you have a brand that's 200 years old and it increases the value of a product. We see this happen over and over again. I'll give you a crazy example. Look at this brand, Supreme. I think it's a sneaker or a skateboard brand. I don't even know what they do. Okay. It's some sort of skater thing. If you have kids that are like 15 or 20, whatever, they can explain it to you, but it's amazing. Anything they put that logo on, I mean, like a brick, a hammer, literally, they sell like hammers with this logo, and for $1,000, a fire extinguisher with the logo on it, and it goes for $1,000. It becomes a collector item. So Wall Street Reporter's brand is very similar in a way, right? Because people associate our brand with stocks that become 10 baggers. That transfers to you. Do you see how this works? So here's a couple of quotes. This is just, I mean, I get thousands of emails and things, but this is some of the things that investors are saying about Wall Street Reporter. This is some of the emails, the letters that I get. And by the way, I have some thank you cards I could show you later, but yeah, people, when stocks perform, people send me boxes of expensive cigars, Davidoff cigars. That's $200 to $400 for a small box. Is anybody doing that for the stock promoters, the IR firms that you're working with? I don't know, but is anybody writing these types of letters to them? So again, here's a guy that made $2.5 million, a stock that won one of our 50 baggers. Here's a guy that loves our CEO interviews. Here's a guy at the bottom. Your program has changed my life. Now, here's a guy. This is one of these evangelists, one of our influencers. This guy's name is Hammy, and he founded something, a Discord. I don't know if you guys know what Discord is, but he's basically got a couple thousand followers. It's called Stock Fam or something like that. Oh yeah, Stock Fam. And basically, he didn't know anything about stocks. He found Wall Street Reporter, and this guy's very good. Some people like this guy, and he finds his ideas on Wall Street Reporter, and he's able to share those ideas with his couple thousand followers. I think he had like 3,000 followers on Discord. And what that means is all those people come buying your stock once you're on Wall Street Reporter. We have many of these guys. We have hundreds of these influencers. You're able to leverage that. Here's another email I got. Here's a guy showing me a screenshot. He turned 1,000 to 60,000. Here's another guy that's to the right. So that was Shark Attack Zach. Here's a guy that bought a Jaguar as a result of some of the money he made with Wall Street Reporter stocks. I think it was Peak Fintech, in fact. Oh, that's the guy. He bought a house in Florida. He moved from Quebec. Yeah, so he says, oh, we had to sing Eve. Here's a guy says, you changed my life, amazing experience, all this other stuff, right? What is the point of all this? Why am I showing this? Am I trying to brag to you, telling you how great Wall Street Reporter is? No, the point is this. The point is nobody else out there has delivered as many 10-bagger stocks for investors, or even multi-bagger stocks. We've had hundreds of multi-bagger stocks that went up 100, 300, 500%. Nobody else has had as many winners as Wall Street Reporter has. The brand story of Wall Street Reporter is we deliver 10-bagger stocks. We deliver 10-bagger, multi-bagger success consistently. And what that means is this: expectations have a tendency to manifest in reality. That's just the way the world works. Whether you like it or not, when investors have high expectations of you and you just give them a little bit of ammunition, you give them a little bit of fuel that validates, it'll happen. It'll happen. I showed you examples. They all happen the same way. And here's the bottom line. We have an interested audience of investors. We have an eager audience of investors who've made a lot of money with our stocks, who've had these massive wins. You're seeing how much money some of these guys made. These are average investors, guys who start with a couple thousand, made millions or more. So there's a lot of money they have to deploy into our next stock that we introduce them to. And that could be your stock. So we have an eager audience for you that's ready for you. And when you build your cult, you're going to have that same success that we showed you. So again, who's our audience? High net worth retail investors, fund managers, analysts, brokers, the usual suspects. CEO interviews, basics. I can run this real quick. CEO interview, 30 minutes, live stream. We do Q&A with our audience. By the way, the idea with our CEO interviews is that we bring a very high energy to it. That's a little secret that you're not going to get anywhere else. Front page promotion. Your story gets featured on the wallstreetreporter.com front page. Thousands of people come to that front page every day. You're surrounded by other stocks that are massive winners. We do interviews with fund managers, analysts, so it adds a lot of credibility to you. And most importantly, guaranteed news coverage. This is very important. We talked about the importance of news flow. You got to have that news flow, but your news flow doesn't matter. Your news release doesn't matter if nobody sees it. The idea is you want to have a big following. You want to have a lot of eyeballs on your stock when you do have news. Okay, that's what we do for you. We make sure that a lot of people see your news in our weekly newsletter, email newsletter, all that stuff. Again, same audience, live stream presentations. We talked about that. By the way, we also, when you do a presentation on our platform, we're able to get some analytics. So we're able to get feedback. We're able to understand what's working, what's not working, and to help you fine tune and improve, because that's the idea. Multi-ticker news stories. I'm going to tell you more about that later. It's a little bit involved, but the idea is this allows your story to scale by having you featured alongside other leaders in your sector. A very important slide here. I don't think you might know some of these things intuitively, maybe not. But I'm going to tell you exactly how stock prices really increase, how Wall Street Reporter helps you increase your stock price. So here's how it works. Every time you do a CEO interview or you put out news, a certain percentage of people will buy your stock, a small percentage of our audience. Again, we have 100,000 plus on our email list. Not all of them are going to buy your stock. Maybe only 50 of them will buy the stock the first time you show up. Tiny percentage. The idea is I don't want them to buy your stock right away. What I want them to do is I do want them to add you to their watch list. And that is the secret. The idea is when you show up on a program, a lot of people start adding you to their watch list, okay, on their brokerage account or Yahoo Finance, whatever it is. So what that means is every time you put out news, it pops up on their screen automatically, okay? When you do an interview, it pops up on their screen automatically. Now you're forcing your way into their consciousness that way. What happens is when you have that good news, those watchers turn into buyers, and they turn into buyers at higher stock prices, because when you perform, when you execute, when you deliver milestones, your stock price will be increasing again. And as your audience increases with the Wall Street Reporter, it's a virtuous cycle. Your audience is going to be growing. You're going to have more news. So your stock price will be increasing just because there's more potential buyers for the stock, right? And what that does is it also pushes all those watchers off the fence into the buying camp, right? So they go from being watchers into buyers when they see you delivering on news. And that all happens at higher prices, right? So you're delivering and they're buying at higher prices. Now and it becomes, again, a virtuous cycle. Your stock increases and more watchers become buyers. At the same time, that watch list also acts as market support because, for example, some investors right away, they're interested in what you're doing, but they may not want to buy your stock because they may not like the chart picture. They may think you're technically overvalued or this or that. They're waiting for news, whatever it is that they're waiting for. Maybe your stock drops. Maybe your stock drops 30%. Could happen, right? Now you have those people, they're buyers because some of them might want to be buyers, but at a lower price. Let's say, very real example. Let's say your stock goes from $1 to $3. Within like 30 days, you show up on Wall Street Reporter, your stock is $1. A month later, your stock's $3, right? And it happens a lot of times. The stock triples right away. And, a lot of times those people who are now discovering your stock now, they're like, wow, this thing has had a big run. I'm not going to be buying at $3, but I would buy at $1.50 or $2. And you know what's going to happen, right? When you have a big run, when your stock goes parabolic, it's going to have a pullback. What this does is we provide you with that market support. This is how the market support works, because those watchers, they're willing to buy your stock just at a low price level. If they're sophisticated investors, right? Family offices. Let's say you want to get the family offices that are in our audience. They can't buy your stock if it's illiquid, right? Unless they're buying a private placement. And they're not going to buy a private placement from you unless they know that Wall Street Reporter is promoting the stock and it's going to be liquidity 4 months or 6 months from now, right? Just common sense. So these family offices, they want liquidity and they want momentum. They want momentum. Now, when you show up on a program, your stock might start out at $1 and very quickly it goes to $3 within 30 days. Now, those family offices, they see the stock have a massive parabolic move like that. they're not going to buy $3. They're going to be waiting for a pullback. So they're watchers. They have you on their watch list, and they'll say, look, you know what? These micro caps, usually they pull back 50%. That's typical. And that's the reality. It's very typical to have a 50% pullback. But now you have that built-in buyer base. You have those built-in buy orders. They're watchers of your stock, so they turn into buyers at lower levels and also at higher levels, right? So again, the more your watch list increases, the more your stock price is able to increase. The more your watch list increases, the more your stock price can increase. And that is the whole goal of our system. So here is the 10-bagger formula. Very simple. The Wall Street Reporter formula, again, is why do we need these CEO interviews, Rudy? Why do we need this news flow, the presentations? Why do we need all that stuff? Because the idea is that helps, that content that we can spread online, that goes viral, that creates watchers, and those watchers turn into buyers. That's how it works. And if you show up twice a month, so this is the formula. This is the formula for a 10-bagger, assuming your company has a good story, right? You got to have that 10-bagger story. Very important. The formula is this. You show up on a program twice a month, whether it's an interview or presentation, and you have 3 news releases a month or more. If you have 4 news releases a month, that's even better, because that is proof to investors that your company is that high velocity, that breakout story that's going to go exponential. It's all about news flow. And you follow this formula consistently for 6 months, you're going to have a massive increase in your stock price. Okay, it's very simple. All you got to do is follow this formula. I guarantee you, okay, I guarantee you, you're going to have massive success. Now, when I say guarantee, I'm not just making empty promises. In fact, if you follow this formula, if your stock doesn't double, I'll give you the next 6 months for free. Okay, what other IR firm is going to tell you that? All you got to do is just follow this formula. 3 press releases each month. And again, when you're part of our 100X CEO Academy, you're going to get, our system for how to build a tiger team, we call, around you, that creates that news flow for you. Massive news flow, automatically engages your team members, all that stuff. So let's compare. There's the old way. There's what you've been doing up till now. Up till now, you've been doing it the old way. You've been doing maybe traditional IR. And by the way, IR is important. IR, they do your news, they do communication stuff, set up one-on-one meetings, whatever it is they do, right? But they're not going to give you massive scale. They don't have a media platform. They don't have a media platform to give you massive scale. It's a fact. They can't get you 10,000 new eyeballs each week after week. We can. Because we have a media platform, and we're doing it for 25 plus years. So there's the old way, which is traditional IR. It's slow, it takes a long time, it's inconsistent, it may or may not work. The results are incremental. Or you can try, this direct marketing that they do. A lot of Canadian companies do this kind of, I call it a pump and dump, because that's really what it is. When you do these like digital marketing campaigns, native ads, or whatever they call it, the pay-per-click, they just buy a bunch of ads on Facebook or Google, whatever. And then, they drive, a lot of eyeballs to a store or a landing page. And, that can create a pop in the stock, but it's very expensive. It can cost $500,000 if, as long as they're not cheating you and hopefully putting all that money into the program, which usually they're not. But, those programs are $250,000 or more just to get some traction. And the moment you stop, those results just die overnight. And that's, you see those stock there run up and they collapse. That is not what happens when you have a cult following. When you have a cult following, you're able, with Wall Street Reporter, you're taking advantage of our trust brand, the reputation, the audience that we give. You're leveraging that goodwill that we have from bringing so many other 10-baggers to this audience. And as a result, you're able to get a lot of attention on your stock. You show up on a program, you start building your cult following, like you saw with Peak FinTech, that stock that went up 20x. You show up over and over again twice a month. You deliver that news flow 2-3 times a month or more, and you're going to have lasting results. Now, if you stop doing it, it's going to go right back down. It's going to do it slowly. Okay, so the difference is this, and I'll be very candid with you, because you're going to see a lot of those stocks that I showed you that went up 10x or more. For some reason, for whatever reason, and I'm sure it's going to happen with you, that after your stock goes up 10x, you're going to say, I don't need this anymore, right? That happens 90% of the time. For whatever reason, people don't change. 90% of CEOs, after the stock goes up 10x, they say, I don't need to do this anymore. And we also, Wall Street Report, we don't really want to do it anymore. And especially in the next super stock program. On a regular program, we do have ways where you can continue, but a lot of times the companies don't want to do it. And what happens is once they stop doing it, once they stop engaging with investors, they just fall off. They fall off that wagon. They stop showing up for live streams. They stop putting out news, and slowly those stocks drift back down to where they started. It happens all the time. So once you stop, it happens slowly. It's not going to happen right away, like with one of these digital marketing campaigns, but it's going to happen over probably 6 months, 9 months. Once you stop following the system that works, the results will go back down. It's just the way it is, right? So the idea is you want to continue with a winning system. So let's say once your stock goes up 10x on Wall Street Reporter, and by the way, we never offered this before because in the past, like once you became a 10 bagger, we wanted to move on. I just got bored with it. But now we actually do have kind of continuity programs where we allow you to continue with that audience and continue that engagement. So you have those sustainable results. So again, the new way is you build your cult following with the Wall Street Reporter, okay? There's the old way, what you've been doing till now, which has been giving you the results you've been getting, which is not much, or you can do it the new way, the Wall Street Reporter way, which you've never done before, right? You've probably never really built a cult following in a systematic way. Maybe you've had some ideas about a personal brand and things like that, but you've never built a cult following over and over again, right? We've done it over and over again. I showed you some examples. We've had many examples. So again, follow the system. You're going to get those results. I'm just repeating myself over and over again. Why? Probably for the same reason that we have these programs that go on for 6 months, or you do these interviews, presentations, news flow, repetition. You got to have repetition. And the first time you tell a story, people aren't going to pay attention. You got to repeat a message 8 times before it sinks in. That's the advertising studies and marketing, I think, have shown that. Real quick, I just want to show you. So we have 2 different programs here. And by the way, if we get into a phone call, we can go into the details of all this. So what we have is 2 different programs that fit 2 different needs. So we have some companies that maybe they just want to get some market support. They just want to get some eyeballs on the stock. You might be a middle market company. You might only have 1 or 2 news releases a month. And you just want to get something, right? That's a program that's $49,000 for 6 months. So again, it depends on your news flow. If you have 1 or 2 press releases a month, that's the program that's going to work for you. It's going to work slowly for you. Now, you're not going to become a 10 bagger if you have 1 or 2 news releases a month. I'm just going to tell you outright. If you show up on a program once or twice, you have 1 or 2 news releases a month, your stock might become a double or triple, whatever, right? Now, if you are able to produce consistently 4 news releases a month, if you have that velocity, right? If your company does have that story, so you got to have that high velocity story, inflection point, and you're able to deliver that news flow, 4 news releases a month, then you're able to qualify for our Discovery Ultra program. So the regular Discovery Day program, then we have our Ultra, our next Super Stock program. There's some nuances of different programs. Really what it comes down to is the number of eyeballs you're going to get. So 50 grand, you're going to have about 5 to 10,000, what we call investor engagements, eyeballs on your stock. 125 grand for 6 months, you're going to have 25, 30,000 new eyeballs on your stock each month. And again, quality eyeballs. So you do it over and over again, and you're going to have those results. But again, you got to have the news flow. If you don't have the news flow, I don't care if you have the money, I'm not going to give you that program because it's not going to work for you. It's only going to work for you if you have 4 news releases a month. If you only have 1 or 2 news releases a month, this 49 grand program will be just fine for you. Let's wrap up here. This is going to be the easiest decision you can make. It's a no-brainer decision. Because again, if you knew for a fact, if you knew with certainty that you could increase your valuation, you can create $50 million, $100 million, $500 million in shareholder value. If you knew you could create $100 million in shareholder value, how much would you pay to achieve that result? Would you pay $1 million, $2 million, $5 million? I mean, because that's exactly what you're doing when you launch a new product. You bring in a new executive, you do some marketing initiative. Those things cost 6, 7 figures or more, right? You're doing it because you want to build your revenue so that results in a higher stock price, I'm assuming, right? Or you could do this program, which kind of goes right to first principles, right? To the bottom line. You do this program And I've shown you that there's a very high probability that, again, if you follow that system, you follow the formula that works, you're going to have that massive result. So if your valuation is $50 million today, you're going to have a 250 or even a $500 million valuation. You'll create $400-500 million in value when you follow our system. And we're not going to be charging you $5 million. We're not charging you $10 million, not even $1 million. We're only charging you either it's 49 grand or it's 125 grand, depending again on your news flow. You're getting millions of dollars in value, hundreds of millions in cases. So it's what we call it's an asymmetric setup. This is not even is this a no-brainer decision. You're a CFO. If you explain this to the CFO, if he understands math, you're going to understand how this works. Because if you don't do this, if you don't do this program after watching this, it's a massive mistake. You're actually, it's costing you money. Why is it? It's because now you have this opportunity cost, because you could have been a $500 million valuation company of a massive increase, and now you're not. You're only going to have maybe a 50 million or whatever it is, doing whatever it is you're doing. So you can keep doing things you've been doing. You're going to have those incremental results or inconsistent results, or you can do it this new way, build that cult following with the Wall Street Reporter, and you have a very high probability. It could be a 90% probability or more of having a 10 bagger. Again, we've done this over and over again. Follow the system, you're going to get those results. So the bottom line is Wall Street Reporter gives you the best ROI, return on investment, of any corporate growth initiative. Even your CFO will love this program when he understands the massive upside you're going to get with this minimal fixed investment. And of course, you have my guarantee, you have my personal guarantee that if you follow the system, you do those news releases 4 times a month, you show up twice a month for the live stream. If your stock doesn't at least double, you're not getting $50 million plus increase in value, I'm going to give you the next 6 months for free. Nobody else is going to give you that type of guarantee. We've never had any company fail that followed the system. So again, get in touch if you want to become the next success story that we could be talking about a year from now, sharing with other leaders, other CEOs out there. So get in touch with me, with Jack Marks, or a member of my team. And again, here's to your 10x, your 100x. See you at the top.